Welcome to MLSsoccer.com's Playoff Central presented by Samsung Galaxy with Andrew Wiebe and Simon Borg. I'm Jason Sagini. We're happy to be back with you for another pregame show. This one, of course, ahead of the Western Conference Championship, Leg 1 between the Portland Timbers and Real Salt Lake. That game, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN and ESPN Deportes. Guys, as we like to do, let's take a look at the bracket, at how these teams got here throughout the playoffs.
Well, Jason, I know everyone's on the Portland bandwagon based on what they did to the Seattle Sounders. But make no doubt about it, last round, the most impressive scalp has to be Real Salt Lake beating the LA Galaxy, two-time defending champions, and the way they did it, especially in that second leg.
All right, we told you this yesterday. We'll remind you today for anyone who's new. The Portland Timbers, the only team left that has not won an MLS Cup. Of course, that makes sense. They're the newest arrival to MLS. The Houston Dynamo, the only team out of these four that have won multiple MLS Cups. Of course, RSL winning in 2009. Guys, as we look towards this game, we talked a lot about these teams in our preparation, and one thing that kept coming up is these two teams play the best style of soccer, some of the best styles of soccer that we've seen in MLS. So I have to ask you, are these the two best teams in MLS right now?
Yeah, well, I think the LA Galaxy maybe have a little bit of an edge from a numbers perspective, but just in pure aesthetics, just in pure prettiness of their play, I think these are the two teams to watch out for. But Simon, I think they do them different ways. We've heard a lot about Portland being RSL 2.0. They're going to be the next ones to assume that crown, but I don't think they're that similar. I think Portland wants to hit on the break. They want to get the ball and run, whereas RSL, they have the ability to hold it for the entire match, and then they do their damage slowly, methodically, but still very effectively.
I agree with you, Andrew. These two teams are not similar in the way they do things on the field. The fact that they want to take the game to you, yes, I would agree they're similar in that respect. But they do things differently. For me, the Portland Timbers and the way they play, much more similar to Sporting Kansas City than to Real Salt Lake. Sporting Kansas City, they play a high-pressure game where they try to force a turnover and then go at you once they win the ball. That's the way Portland Timbers play. That's the way Portland Timbers is most effective. Real Salt Lake, rather, they want to have a rhythmic passing style. They're patient with the build-up. Then they'll pick their moment. So very different styles here. But I think people want to lump these two teams together. The head coaches. They see young head coaches who are brash, who are in your face, and they want to make the two similar, and they're not.
Well, you look at the two coaches, of course, Jason Kreis winning MLS Cup in 2009 in only his second year with the team. Caleb Porter having a lot of success with the Portland Timbers in his first season. When you look at them against each other this year, though, it seems that Jason Kreis's experience has maybe helped them. Real Salt Lake is 2-0-2 against the Timbers this year in all competitions. Remember, they played in the semifinal of the U.S. Open Cup as well.
Yeah, I think Caleb Porter certainly has to have a little bit in his craw when it comes to Jason Kreis. Certainly going out of the U.S. Open Cup, they wanted that. They wanted to make sure they go to the CONCACAF Champions League. But I think you look at Jason Kreis, he's done it for 7 years. That is longevity. Caleb Porter's just starting to get on that bandwagon. He's had a great first year, but will it carry over? Jason Kreis is the hallmark. Caleb Porter would like to reach that.
All right, guys, as we start looking into this matchup a little bit, one of the things that you have to take into account is Real Salt Lake played that extra 30 minutes in their last game. They had to go a full 120. That goal that was called back, a lot of controversy around that. They went into overtime. In overtime, they lost their top striker, Alvaro Saborio. Simon, what are the other impacts of this game?
Yeah, I think that extra 30 minutes, especially the way Real Salt Lake played in this game, it was as committed a team defensive performance I've ever seen. Guys tracking back when Real Salt Lake lost the ball. That's why Robbie Keenan-Donovan in this game didn't show up. It's because so many Real Salt Lake players just running both sides of the field. So the fact that they had to go 120 minutes, I'm shocked if we see them have that freshness in them throughout this game against the Portland Timbers. So it remains to be seen. But obviously the Saborio injury, the bigger news.
Yeah, we mentioned that Saborio injury. Let's head out to Sandy, Utah, to Rio Tinto Stadium now, where our own Sam Yarrick is there with more on who's going to replace Saborio in the lineup.
Ready? Thanks, guys. With Alvaro Saborio missing tonight's game due to a right hip flexor injury, head coach Jason Kreis will turn to Devin Sandoval, a rookie with 18 games under his belt, to play up top with Robbie Finley. We've also confirmed that Ned Grabavoy and Joao Plata will be on the bench. So even though RSL is starting shorthanded, they'll have plenty of options later in the match. But the other story we're watching here tonight is the crowd. This is the first time in RSL's 9 years of existence that they've played a home game on a Sunday due to the large Mormon population here. I spoke to RSL earlier. They had sold up to 16,000 tickets and expect that 17,000 or more will be here tonight. In attendance, the Timbers Army. That's all for now. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Andrew, so we know that it's going to be Sandoval taking the place of Alvaro Saborio. Take us through the rest of Real Salt Lake's lineup.
Well, it starts with the Rock in the back. Nick Raimondo at goalkeeper. From left to right there, winger Schuler, Borchers, and Beltran. Schuler, the big goal scorer against the Galaxy. That midfield, we all know, the diamond formation, Javier Morales, of course, the point, Kyle Beckerman covering behind him. And on the wings, Luis Gil and Sebastian Velasquez. And then up top, this is where the changes came. Devin Sandoval in for Alvaro Saborio. And then the guy that wants to get in behind, Robbie Finley, a new strike duo up there.
Yeah, when you look at this strike duo, that you have to talk about the Sandoval-Finley partnership. They've only played 63 minutes together this season. The one time they started together, Finley went off after 14 minutes. So this is not a strike force that we've seen a lot of for Salt Lake.
No, and probably for good reason. Neither of these guys very productive so far, at least in this season. But I actually think it's going to do pretty well against the Portland Timbers. Their roles are defined. You know Finley wants to get in behind, but Sandoval is the key. He's the one that needs to get in. He's the bruise. He needs to pull those two center backs out of their accustomed positions, make them worried about what he can do, perhaps holding the ball up, getting his teammates into play. If he can pull them out of position, prevent them from getting the passing lanes, that's going to cut off the first leg of that Timbers attack.
And Andrew, I think he's going to do it. Devin Sandoval replacing Saborio. Look, Saborio is the leading scorer of Real Salt Lake, so they're going to miss his finishing and his guile and his experience in the box. He knows what to do with the ball. Sandoval is still learning that much. But what Sandoval does better than Saborio, he's going to hustle. He's going to harass those Portland defenders. He's going to make more runs than a Saborio would. He's younger, he's fresher, we talk about it. He's the Steven Lenhart of Real Salt Lake. So I think he's going to create havoc.
All right, you expect Sandoval to do the dirty work, but when you look at the facts, he is not the finisher that Saborio is. Then you have his strike partner, Robbie Finley. We all know the difficulties he's had in front of the net from time to time. He is not a sure bet in front of the net. So who is going to do the scoring for this Real Salt Lake team against Portland tonight?
Well, I mean, you look at it, it's got to start from Javier Morales. He's been involved in more goals. We saw the graphic earlier, over 31% of the goals, whether it's a goal or assist, he's involved in most of the goals for Salt Lake. But I think he's going to have to concentrate on his service in this game. Stick to the assist, Javier Morales, and make sure that he serves it up on a platter for the Findleys and the Sandovals, who, again, they're not renowned for their finishing, but if you make a simple enough pass and you make it foolproof, they're going to put it in.
And look, it's going to be by committee, but don't forget about that back line, guys. We saw in this last game, when it comes to set pieces, your Nat Borchers, your Chris Schulers, they get on the end of things, and that has been a thorn in the side of the Timbers against RSL this year.
All right, well, we look at the midfield for Real Salt Lake. No Ned Grabavoy. He was one of the other guys who is creating more of the chances along with Javier Morales. When you lose him, you have Sebastian Velasquez in there. Now, in the last game, he did well for himself, scoring what was a huge goal against the Los Angeles Galaxy to tie up the series. It's what came next that I have to ask you about. What is this, Simon?
Well, he immediately went to the tattoo parlor and got a tattoo commemorating the goal. But I appreciate the passion by Velasquez, but I don't see anything in that little snapshot that he sent via Instagram that tells me that's a goal against the Galaxy in the playoffs. I don't see it. Now, I don't know if this is like some Art Nouveau or something, or abstract art, but I don't see where the ball's even in the net. So is that a goal? And plus, the ball is not fitting in that net.
Look,
the ball's huge.
It clearly went over your head. I'm assuming that the spikes there on the bottom, that's probably the hairdo. This is a first-person look. He's driving through the ball, header goal.
All right, he's got some nice artwork. If he keeps scoring goals, he's going to run out of room if they're all that big. We're going to head out to Sandy, Utah right now. Our own Sam Yarrick is at the stadium. She caught up with his midfield teammate, Kyle Beckerman, when he arrived at the stadium.
All right, Kyle, this is your 5th matchup with the Portland Timbers this season. You guys are one of the only teams that hasn't lost to them. Why do you think you've been so effective?
It's been really 5 hard, really fought games, and really it's just we've been able to edge them out, and maybe our focus was a little higher. We finished our chances, I think. It always helps, but we don't really take much from it. We know it's going to be hard fought just like the last 5, so we'll take some familiarity from playing those games, but nothing's guaranteed.
Right, and Diego Valeri and Darlington Nagbe are 2 of the toughest attackers in MLS right now. How do you defend them?
It's very tough. Those guys, the way they are, they're just great players, and they're going to find spots and keep moving until they do. So when they do get the ball, it's about trying to limit their spots in dangerous places. And if we can try and get them to go sideways or back when they get it, that'll help us out. And if they do get in a dangerous spot, then the reaction from everyone's got to be just tip-top and see if we can kind of calm them down. But it's a tough task, and one it'll be a whole team to try and do it.
All right, well, we're looking forward to a great matchup tonight. Good luck.
Thank you.
You have Kyle Beckerman talking about stopping Diego Valeri and Darlington Nagbe. Now, we talked about Real Salt Lake playing extra minutes against the LA Galaxy. When you look at Nagbe and Valeri, these are 2 guys, neither of them had to play 90 minutes in their series against the Seattle Sounders. Both of them well rested. We expect them to be in the starting lineup. Simon, take us through the Portland starting lineup.
They are, in fact, in the starting lineup. Salt Lake trying to put together a team, trying to Band-Aid, put some Band-Aids in place, but Portland going with what works. The starting 11 that played against Seattle in 2 legs, Ricketts in goal, Harrington, Codd, Danso, and Jewsbury. You have the 2 defensive midfielders, Johnson and Chara, who will hold a little back. Valeri will be more of an attacking role. And in front of him, Wallace on the left, Nagbe on the right, and Ryan Johnson, the forward up top.
So Caleb Porter's had the luxury of playing the same lineup in all of these games, Simon. So when it comes down to game planning, when they went to Seattle, they seemed to sit back a little and they countered and they did that well. Is that what you expect for them going to Salt Lake as well?
I think this is the biggest decision I think Caleb Porter has to face in this one. I think you can sit back against Seattle because Seattle's not good with the ball. They give up the ball easily, so you can just wait for them to give it up to you, then go, then counterattack. Real Salt Lake, they are an excellent possession team. They hold the ball well. They're not going to give the ball up cheaply. And so I think Portland actually has to come out of their defensive shell, attack Real Salt Lake, cause the turnovers, and then go and hope that Real Salt Lake's heavy legs make it tougher for them to keep possession. So I think they're going to have to be aggressors in this game.
All right, and when they do get the ball and move forward, the first guy that they look for is Diego Valeri. Andrew, they look for Valeri's feet, and then he spreads the ball and makes that dangerous pass.
Yeah, he's the guy that's going to float in between the back line and midfield. He does that so well. You see it right here, those runs checking back. He'll have the guys in front of him do it, your Wallaces, your Nagbys, your Ryan Johnsons, and that's when he'll ghost in, and then you see he has the ability to finish. The RSL team cannot give the ball up like that. You see Adam Moffat doing it right there, and then all of a sudden they're off and running. That cannot happen because when you find Valeri in these situations, he is probably the deadliest in MLS on the counterattack.
All right, guys, we move from the attack of the Portland Timbers to the defensive side. Robbie Finley came out earlier this week and he said, hey, we kind of know what Portland's going to do. We know that their outside backs like to get up in the attack. And when they do, that leaves space behind them that we can then exploit. Is that what you're expecting? And if it is, how did the Timbers deal with that?
Yeah, I certainly expect that, Jason. We saw it against Omar Gonzalez against LA. He wants to get in behind. He wants to pull those center backs out. And like Gonzalez, Danzo and Carr are not the most fleet of foot. They're not agile. They want to be in the middle. They want to hold it down. If those guys aren't there, they may have to do that. And that's where you see openings. That's where you see Devin Sandoval get in and get on the end of service. That's where you see the other fullbacks perhaps get in the attack as well.
And so, Andrew, if the Portland defenders do push up and press into the attack, then if those gaps open up, that's where the midfielders are going to have to help. The Portland midfielders are going to have to help their fellow defenders. Their spaces, they have to come back to cover. And that will fall to the two deeper midfielders. We're talking about Will Johnson and Diego Chara.
All right, Will Johnson showed up to the stadium a little while ago, and Sam Yarrick caught up with him at Rio Tinto.
All right, well, a lot of teams approach a first leg on the road with a bit more of a defensive style, but we all know that neither of these teams play that way. You both like to dictate the game. What do you think that means for tonight's matchup?
Yeah, hopefully it leads to an entertaining game. Two quality sides trying their best to execute their game plans, and I hope that leads to a lot of good, positive energy, and I think it just an overall a really good matchup between two good teams.
All right, and no secrets really between these two teams. You've now faced each other 4 times, and this is your former team. So does that help you defend players like Javier Morales, and if so, how?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I know those guys. I know what they're all about. I think at this level, and especially in a game like this, it comes down to guys just making plays, pulling off a bit of magic, and I hope it's our guys versus theirs. I don't know if it makes it any easier to defend Javier and some of these other guys just because they're such good players. But I'll try my best and put in a good shift, and hopefully we come out on the right end of the result.
All right, well, we're looking forward to it. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
All right, Will Johnson there saying that he kind of shied away from saying it's going to be an open game and there's going to be a lot of goals, but you kind of get the sense that he maybe expected it. These two teams played 4 times this year, and when they did, they averaged 3.25 goals per game. That's a whole bunch, guys. When they score those goals, it's Javier Morales and Diego Valeri. We talked about the 2 Argentinian midfielders. Those are the guys pulling the strings. So as we prepared for this show, we talked a lot about them. I want to get your take, Simon. Which of these two would you rather have if you were going into a game tonight?
Well, Jason, I know we've been talking about Valeri possibly only going 60 minutes, but I would take 60 minutes of Valeri over 90 of Morales, and here's why. I think they have a lot of the same attributes in that they're great at free kicks and they're very good in passing the ball with their vision. But what Valeri has more than Morales is, aside from being younger than Morales, Valeri has these quick bursts. He's just a faster player, and he has the penchant for making runs into the box, I think more so than Morales, who prefers maybe to sit back outside the box and pass the ball around. Valeri wants to get in the box, wants to finish, and has proven that he can. I know Morales has scored goals, but Valeri wants to, has more of a desire to, and I appreciate that.
Look, Simon, this is about value. Congratulations, you described the perfect player for that counterattack. Good thing the Timbers have him. On the other side, RSL needs the guy to dictate deep. They need a Javier Morales. He is the key to their attack. Almost all their chances go through him. Almost 300 more passes in the final third than any teammate. He's the one that dictates play. He's more valuable. I'm taking 90 minutes. I'm taking Javier Morales, and I have an inkling that you're going to take RSL in this game. So I'm curious about your logic here.
No. But the point here is that who's the player? If you're starting a team, who would you want?
No, he said tonight. He said tonight.
Hey, you're starting a team tonight.
Tonight.
So both of them.
Okay, fine, tonight. Diego Valeri probably, but I'm talking about tonight. All that matters is this game. Who's going to take it over 90 minutes? I think Morales will have the better performance.
He's playing 30 more minutes. Of course he is.
Well, that's why you take him then, Simon.
All right, guys, we're going to find out who gets the win there, I guess, when the game takes place. We'll have more on that in our post-game show tonight after the match, just after the final whistle. Check back here on MLSsoccer.com for our live post-game show. For now, though, we got to get to predictions. So, Andrew, Will Johnson thinks it's going to be an open game. What do you think? Give us your prediction.
I agree. 3.25 is the line. I'm taking the over. I think it's going to be 2-2, a draw here. They go back to jail to win equal. I think the Timbers do get on the board first, though, Simon. That forces RSL out of their show a little bit. They've got to attack. They've got to make the most of those tired legs. 2 weeks to rest. I think they pull back and get it done.
I think we saw in the last time these two teams faced each other, they're capable of playing a very tight game, canceling each other out.
Javier
That's
Morales
how good they are.
No
Javier
Javier
Morales,
Morales.
but they're that good. And I think the stakes are too high for anyone to be risking. For all the talk, Will Johnson there, the teams are going to be conservative. There are 2 legs to play out here. In this first one, I think they'll be conservative. And I think the legs are going to be an issue. We saw it in the Houston-Kansas City series where the heavy legs also impacted. That game finished 0-0, the first leg of that series. I think we'll see more of the same here. A set piece, a scrappy goal, 1-0 in favor of RSL for me.
All right, well, I hope the game goes like you said, Andrew. Unfortunately, I kind of agree with Simon here, and I think Simon's right that it is going to be a tight game, a close game, and it's going to be one scrappy goal on a set piece or a turnover that makes the difference. I, though, think it's going to be the Portland Timbers and their fresher legs that are going to be able to do it. Remember, Sabo being out, for me, that's key for Salt Lake. They don't have that clinical finisher in front of the net. Of course, you can see this game tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN and ESPN Deportes, RDS2 for our friends up in Canada. Want to thank you very much for joining us here on MLSsoccer.com's Playoff Central presented by Samsung Galaxy. Enjoy the match. We'll see you after the game.